Welcome to Glorious Botafogo, your number one source of Botafogo news in English. Botafogo and Atletico Madrid will be a match to watch. It's going to be a match with a lot of tensions, and it's going to be a very physical and also very tactical match. I'm sure Simeone is going to do his job as a manager to motivate his players to go out there and get the result. Meanwhile, Botafogo is going to do exactly what Botafogo does. If you missed the match versus PSG, Botafogo neutralized PSG's best offensive weapons, which was Vitinha and Kvaratskhelia. Now, even though Atletico Madrid is not PSG, they might have just had an off night. Again, PSG is PSG and they do what they do. But they might have just had an off night versus PSG. They probably could have played a lot better, the heat and all this. But they are also after the result. In order to move on past the group stage, Atletico Madrid has to win. Not only do they have to win against Botafogo, they have to win by at least 3-0. Because a 2-0 win will leave the entire group scrambled. And I think Botafogo moves through, even if that's the case. Unless Seattle Sounders performs a miracle, beats PSG, and then Botafogo and Atletico Madrid move through to the next round. The team that is going to play Atletico Madrid is going to be the same team that played against PSG. So we're starting the exact same way with the exact same players. I'm sure Renato Paiva has studied Atletico de Madrid and has studied a way to neutralize their best weapons, which is Griezmann, which is Barrios in the mid, being able to dictate kind of like Vitinha does. Sorloth, which is a goal scorer, although he does miss some tap-ins, and I hope that is the case against Botafogo. But I predict, you can quote me later, I predict the Sorloth and Barbosa is going to be one of those battles that will probably go down as the battle of a forward versus defender in this group stage. Sorloth and Barbosa will be a clash of titans in this match versus Atletico de Madrid. Of course, on Botafogo side, the players to watch are always Igor Jesus, Savarino, Jair as a center back, all doing very well as of lately, attracting the interest of Real Madrid. And Jair has not signed with Forest, unlike Igor Jesus. So it could be that another team like Real Madrid could come in and swoop Jair from this deal that is supposed to be happening. So we will see. Jair did very, very well against PSG and then certainly attracted the eyes of teams of all over the world. If Botafogo moves on in first place tomorrow, it could be very likely that we get to play Inter Miami in the first quarterfinals. And that would put us on the side with Flamengo and Real Madrid, which is a tough side to beat. But then again, this is the Club World Cup. There's, no easy side. And you can't really choose your opponents, just like we didn't choose to play PSG. But again, we weren't afraid. We respected PSG. We played our game and we shocked the world. Botafogo really did shock the world. There was headlines everywhere, all over the world. So it really did what Textor has been wanting to do since the beginning, which is the globalization of the brand, of the Botafogo brand. So superb. As far as that's concerned, they knocked it out of the park. Now, important piece of information that will affect Eagle football, because it's reported by L'Equipe that John Textor has sold the 45% shares that he has of Crystal Palace to Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets. And apparently a former shareholder in Olympique, a former shareholder in Crystal Palace. So we will see if that's actually true or not. But it seems like John Textor has sold his shares to Woody Johnson, and that would for sure put Crystal Palace in the green to play the Europa League next season, and would also allow Olympique Lyonnais to play the same tournament, because, as you know, two teams by the same owner cannot play the same competition, which will again raise questions in the future. What is the case of Botafogo and Lyon playing the same competition like a Club World Cup? Who gets to go? So again, this is for discussion for much, much later, but that's just something to think about later on. So we will see how that is going to develop. But as far as it's been reported by L'Equipe, John Textor is out of Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace no longer is a member of the Eagle football umbrella. So that's important because that's 200 million, and that's important because that's 200 million euros that gets injected into Eagle football. And I am sure that John Textor is going to be looking into purchasing another club. I don't think it's going to be just Botafogo, Olympique Lyonnais, and Racing White, Derry Molenbeek, which, by the way, there's a huge protest happening in Molenbeek right now because John Textor has presented a new visual and branding for the club, naming it Daring Brussels instead of Racing White, Derry Molenbeek. John Textor thinks that it's a lot to pronounce when saying the team. You could just say RWDM. You could just shorten it, RWDM. And he changed also the badge of the club, going from the Molenbeek that we know of to something newer and a little bit more modern. If we were in the position of Molenbeek, I guarantee John Textor would not even touch. The Botafogo badge is perfect. It's perfect. There's nothing to change about this. It should stay like this until the end of time. Just look at it. It is perfect. And Botafogo it's short name, short and sweet. So although the name of the club is Botafogo de Futebol e Regatas, but it's always shortened to Botafogo, right? But Racing White, Derry Molenbeek, I guess you can just shorten it to Molenbeek. It's cool to see Molenbeek fans trying to fight for their history, which is something that I am sure Botafogo supporters and Olympique Lyonnais supporters understand and will probably do the same. So hopefully John Textor gets to talk to all the supporters of Molenbeek and get all this squared out and figure it out for the best. I want to thank all the brand new supporters here on YouTube, and especially on X, because as of lately, your support on this platform has been incredible. I've had videos go over 20,000 views. I've had posts just kind of go viral. I've gained a lot of followers, which brings me closer and closer to my goal to get monetized here and be part of the revenue share and be in that program, which would allow me to focus a little bit more on the work that I do here. So I just want to thank all of you guys, and I will keep bringing the content and keep spreading the word of the Glorioso for everyone that is interested and wants to find out about the Alvinegro of Rio de Janeiro of Brazil, which there's been such a huge influx of interest for Botafogo, especially after the epic battle and the epic win versus PSG. But that is in the past. Now Botafogo will focus its efforts on Atletico Madrid. And speaking of Atletico Madrid, and speaking of PSG, and speaking of Seattle Sounders, I want to once again say thanks to the guys of the Lobbing Scorchers, say thanks to Ed from PSG Talk, and say thanks to Jeremy from Into the Calderon. Jeremy and I just did a podcast this Saturday, and we talked for about 45 minutes about our upcoming match. And all three of those guys and all three of those channels have been incredibly nice and incredibly welcoming. So I just want to say thanks to all of you guys for having me on and talk about our match previews, which have been so much fun. Botafogo and Atletico de Madrid is coming up this Monday. So let's hope for a Botafogo win, and let's see if we can get through the group stage in first place.